Hey, what's up, guys, and welcome to the Scream Scene. Jody Dean here. Tonight, joining me as my co-host for this episode is my boy Spider from the Coming Soon podcast. What's going on, buddy?
My man, how are you doing, brother? Appreciate you, man.
Dude, I appreciate you, man. I'm doing pretty good. You've actually interviewed me on your podcast before, and we just kind of formed a friendship. You live and breathe horror. I live and breathe horror. And I was like, you know what? Time to time, I might need a co-host. And would you be down for that? And you were like, dude, let's. So how's the podcast life going for you?
Man, it's actually pretty intriguing, man. I mean, I'm blessed be able to do this. Everybody's like, man, how many do you do a week? How many do you do a month? And I'm like, you mean like a week? I said, because I'm on it, man. I try to get three to five a week if I'm able to. But
Yeah,
I'm enjoying it, bro. I'm enjoying it.
that's awesome, man. Yeah, I'm proud of you, dude. I keep up with everything you're doing, and I'm trying to. Initially, that was the idea for this channel was reviews, reactions, interviews. If it had to do with horror, I wanted to have my hand in it. Something you do that I don't have the opportunity to do because I'm so busy with other things. I wish that I had more, less stuff on my plate so I could do it. Is you attend a lot of horror conventions.
Yeah,
Dude, that's pretty cool. You're constantly meeting some really awesome people in this field.
no, yeah. I mean, that's another thing too, because everybody's like, man, how many do you do like a month? I mean, same thing. And I'm like, man, how many are going on? I mean, if it's like 4 going on a month, I try to do all of them, bro. And it's not. I mean, one of my buddies, I mean, of course, he's a pro fighter out there in Austin. And he's like, man, well, the podcast isn't all about convention. I said, it's not, but for me, I'm mingling. I'm getting networking. I'm meeting new people. I get to interview the actors, which is a plus because a lot of behind the scene stuff comes out and they're like, oh, nobody knows this. And I'm like, dude, as a fan, I'm like, oh man, okay, cool, man. Let's talk about that, So, but yeah, I mean, I try to stay out there, bro.
I think that's sick too. And we got a lot, guys. Tonight we are going to talk about Terrifier 3. But just before we get into that, so it's coming. Hang tight. If you've seen the title, if you've seen the thumbnail, we're getting ready to unleash on you guys. But that's one thing I just want to give you props on that. I've noticed that it is about horror, but I've seen you do stuff with like the fighters and stuff, and I have so much respect for you because, that is horror. Fighting is a horror. I don't know if a lot of people look at it like that, but I do, because anytime these fights take place, somebody's getting their ears busted, their face busted. I mean, it's a brutal way to make a living. It is real life horror. Wouldn't you say that's true?
No, I mean, I agree, man, because it's, I mean, I'm K-side, doing photos, doing video, and it's happened more than once where I get blood splattered on me, on the lens, and I'm like, oh, crap, and one of the things about it, too, man, is because a lot of times, I mean, I'm regional, so I'm here in Texas, and a lot of fighters that I've met throughout the years, and it's one of those where I'm shooting, and they're getting pummeled, and they kind of make eye contact, and I'm like, oh, man, like, it's like one of those things I don't want to feel or see, but
Right.
I mean, they signed the contract, man. That's what they're there for themselves. And, sometimes they win, sometimes they lose, man.
It's a scary thing. I hope to God my kids don't grow up and want to do it, but whatever they do, I'll support them. But it's one of those things where you're just like, man, I hope my kids don't grow up and get into this, because I've had friends that have done the fight game, and for a while there when I was younger, that's all I did. I've actually broke this hand so many times fighting that the bones are just they're just in different places than where they're supposed to be. And I look back at it, I'm like, it was so stupid. What were we doing?
Yeah.
He made a mama joke, and I'm woo.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we were talking about that. I actually work with one of my buddies I used to hang out with back in the day, and we're always like, man, like, what the hell are we doing, man? Like, I mean, and it's just like, young and dumb, and one of the things that people always tell me, they're like, oh man, you used to be an a-hole, when you were younger, and I say, man, I still am. I'm just not that a-hole, and I'm a new a-hole, man. Like,
Yeah,
priorities change, man.
you're a controlled a-hole. You're more, you're a proper a-hole now. That's funny. Okay. Terrifier 3. they just wrapped. Damien posted this on his Instagram. He said, that's a wrap on Terrifier 3. This was easily the most challenging film of my career and an emotional roller coaster, to say the least. Luckily, I was surrounded by the greatest cast and crew who kept me motivated and enthusiastic throughout. I may be the creator of Terrifier, but it takes an army of passionate artists to make a film, and I was fortunate enough to surround myself with some of the most talented individuals in the biz. I'm so proud of everyone involved, and I can't wait for you all to see the magic and mayhem we've created. If you thought Terrifier 2 was insane, it was insane. We've reached a whole new level of horror madness that will most certainly blow you away. Get ready for the continuation of the mega slasher. Wow.
Man, I'm telling you, I was at a convention. This is when they had already finished part 2, and you know, they were there. I mean, Art the Clown, he wasn't in his costume yet. You know, he wasn't. But yeah, I mean, I go up to the guys and they're out there laughing. You know, like people, man, and it's kind of mind-boggling because, like yourself, bro, you're out there making these things look real and on film, and you're like, man, like what, you know, what's going through this guy's mind. You know, but I went up to him and I kind of fist bump him and I'm like, hey man, how's it going, guys? And hey, how you doing? You know, like cheerful. And I'm thinking like, wow, dude, like, you know, so I kind of related to the fighters, bro, because it's like you can see them in the cage and you're like, man, these guys are animals. Outside the cage, they're, hey, how you doing? Hey, they're nicest people you'll ever meet, man.
That's great, man, and I'm happy to hear that. That's one thing that you know, I really enjoy about a lot. There's so many filmmakers that you would never call how they are in real life. I've been told that I'm one of them, not just as a filmmaker, but as a YouTuber. People are like, man, you're so down to earth. I'm like, dude, I'm still a person. I'm just like you. Like, I'm not no superhuman. I don't have no special powers. I just happen to do something that you like that got on somebody's radar, and you know, maybe it touched a lot of people. But one thing that I respect about these guys, Damien, Phil, I love Phil to death, man. Such a gentleman, and he gave me a lot of extra time more recently, and he actually checked. He's the first person, bro, to see the trailer for my second movie, Mallet 2. He's the first person that's seen it, and he fucking told me, he said, that was good.
Oh man.
Oh, that is so huge, because you know, you look at a franchise like Terrifier. These guys have done something amazing in a short period of time. This has turned into toys. It's turned into posters. One of the biggest things, bro, people are tattooing Art the Clown on every part of their body. Is it mind-blowing to you what's happened with the franchise?
Not at all, man. I mean, the fact that they were there at the right place at the right time. I mean, I know he, like you said it earlier, I mean, he was surrounded by great people. A lot of times, you know, you are, and it just, things don't happen. I just think that it was like, it was just time for people to see that happen. And it's like, wow, dude, like, I mean, whether or not people were going through things in life, you know, maybe everybody just happened to be like, man, we need, you know, everything's so everybody's so happy and so, you know, which is great, you know, but they see this and they're like, holy, like, bro, like they needed that, you know, needed to see that, man. And
Yeah,
you know, I mean, I'm happy for him, man. I mean, the fact that they're out there making it,
I'm happy for him too. I think what when I say mind blowing, I think this is what was mind blowing to me, is there's a lot of great characters that I see popping up out there, on a DVD cover, on a poster, some kind of promotion. I'm like, wow, they created something awesome. There's this new one I'm seeing, something about Jack in the Box. Maybe that's just the name of it. I don't know, but really creepy looking clown, not having the same effect as Art the Clown.
right?
You know, the way Phil said it was, he was like, Jody, he created such an iconic character. I agree with that. It is a silhouette that is just, you know, perfect, simplistic, scary and horrifying. But not a lot of independent horror films do what they're doing. Now, when I say that, yeah, there are a lot of them, but it doesn't happen so often to where you've become a franchise where you have Hollywood stepping in there, almost begging you to be a part of it. The toys, dude, they've got Terrifier on a VHS tape.
Yeah.
I don't know if you knew that, but like,
Yeah.
there's a bunch of VHS variants of Terrifier, and they're like $100, $150 a pop. Like, they've just, you know, I see independent films all the time that will never have. I might be one of those people. I hate to say that, but it's very hard to have breakthrough success on that level to where they're having you headlining Comic-Cons.
Bro. No, yeah. I mean, the one I went to, he was like definitely the main person there, you know, and the line, I mean, bro, like I'm telling you, the line was like, they had to do a snake line because there's so many people just wanting to do that photo op. And, you know, like I said, without makeup, I mean, they still had a line. They still had a lot of people. They had to kind of end it and say, okay, you know what, he's going to go ahead and get in costume, excuse me. And so it was cool, man. You know, I mean, I stuck around. I didn't have a media pass for that event, but I did cover it. I just did my grounds. It was a Texas Comic Con. I'll put that out there because I'm actually going to the one this year. So that's pretty dope. And I'm looking forward to that. But yeah.
I'd love to. I don't know if there's anything going on when I'm going to be in Texas. I'll have to get with you off the chat. And I would love to. I see some of the conventions you go to sometimes, and I'm like, you know, I'm really engulfed in this horror thing through and through, but I still am missing so much that I would like to experience, man. I mean, I've been to a ton of Comic-Cons, but a horror con is more.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my speed, bro. Let me ask you this question. Obviously, we know Terrifier is impactful. I think I said something to Phil. I said, you know that Terrifier 3 is going to do well. It's just one of those things where so many people are waiting on it. And he said, well, you never know. Like, he was still kind of like, even though it's doing this, like, you really don't know. And I'm like, no, it can't fail. And he said, that's not true. You know, I feel like that's to where that film is. I feel like they could put out anything and people are going to go see it at this point. And they're not going to do that. But is there another independent horror film more recently, let's say within the last 5 years, that has captivated you, made you a fan, just really made such a mark on you to where you're like, this is going to be huge once more people see it? You know, sometimes it takes a while for these things to get in the pipeline and they resurface.
Well, I will start off by saying Mallet. First and foremost, man. I mean, that was definitely one that you know, made me do a second glance, because I was like, man, I mean, just the name itself, man, is powerful. You know, like you had stated at one time, I said, you know, you have flashers. I said, with this one, you have a basher. You know, it's like I mean, you actually created something unique, and you know, so for sure, man. I mean, as far as what you're doing, you know, on the indie level, man, I mean, there's characters out there that I follow, a lot of filmmakers, man, but I don't think just a set one that has that I'm like, okay, you know, I like them. You know, there's this thing that me and my buddy use as far as term, and we start using the hashtag not my horror, because just like with horror movies, you got different genres. You got comedy, you got gore, you got slasher, and a lot of times you're not gonna like the same thing the other person likes, you know. And then we don't butt heads, but we're kind of like, man, that was cool, and I'm like, bro, what were you watching? Like, I didn't like it, you know. It's just, it didn't captivate me, it didn't hook me. Yeah. You know, there's just things about it that I don't like. But yeah, man, I mean, when it comes to the indie film, I mean, there's a few out there, but it's just, I mean, none I can honestly say have been as powerful as what you're doing, man. I mean, that's just that's just great, dude. I mean, it's a great thing you're doing, bro. And I'm not just saying that because I'm on here, because I mean, anybody else interviews me, I'll be saying the same thing.
I really, really, really appreciate that, bro. That means the world to me. And as you know, what I'm creating does, and I am in this for the long haul. I love what you said about not my horror. My oldest son, Anthony, who plays Mallet, just an amazing kid. You know, he's dealt with this speech impediment his entire life, and he has really bad vision. Without his glasses, man, he could trip on his way to the refrigerator. But somehow, when he puts on this costume and I tell him what to do, hey, you're going to storm through that door right there. You're going to give a look. You're going to start shaking, almost like there's something psychotically wrong with you. And you're going to raise the mallet and you're just going to start relentlessly bashing this woman. First take. The kid is just so impressive. I wouldn't be making Mallet without him. I can tell you that, because finding the right person to play a slasher is damn near impossible. Well, it is possible, but it's damn near impossible on an indie level when you're doing everything yourself. So dude, I'm super stoked to see where Malik goes, but you know, now I've got other scripts, man. We start, which I wanted to talk to you. And again, this is probably something I need to talk to you about off chat, but I will say we had a conversation about if there was a way I could sneak you into Mallet too, because you do some acting yourself, man.
Yes, sir. I do, bro.
You know, we had said if there was a way I could sneak you in somehow, you had suggested maybe I could do an Indiegogo and make it a perk to where, like, hey, like this could be a perk. Like you could end up in the film or you could have your name mentioned in the credits. And I didn't forget about that. I just never did an Indiegogo because there was something so important to me about saying, like, I did this myself. And I don't think there's anything to be ashamed of asking, you know, people to support your project. And hey, I might do that. I might do that. But I do want to put you in something, man. No matter how small, how big the role, I would love to get you in something. So it may be The Devilry. We start that in January. If there's any way you can get in the neck of the woods where I'm filming before May 1st, I mean, I will find a part for you and Mallet too. Might be very freaking small, but we'll talk about that.
No, for sure, man. I appreciate that for sure.
Yeah. And actually, there are a couple little things I had wanted to do that I had kind of said they're cool. We don't need them. We don't really have time. But the truth is, what am I talking about? Because we had said it was going to take 6 months to make this movie, and here we are coming in 5 months. We've knocked it out. So technically, we're a month ahead of schedule. So it's a possibility. What's your thoughts though, man? What's your thoughts on like where indie horror is at right now?
I actually one of the things when I started the podcast itself, it just I was going to horror cons, I was going to events. I wasn't as big as you know, because I was doing a lot of MMA. You know, I was doing out of the city, covering a lot of fights. But when I jumped in with the podcast, me and my buddy, we were like, man, like, is it us or did horror just seem to kind of explode? And people were like, no, it's been like this, you know, for a couple of years. But then I was talking to other people, and they were like, nah, man, something changed. Like something like now it's like really, really big. You know, like people are starting to notice it more. And because of that, I think it's like a perfect time for people like yourself to go out there and put everything on film, bro, because everybody wants to see it. You know, people want new ideas. People want, you know, people keep talking about Hollywood running out of ideas. And of course, you know, there's all these remakes, and it's just like, yeah, you know, why aren't they contacting guys like you and saying like, hey, man, I like what you're doing. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just,
yeah.
But yeah, I think it's a perfect time for indie films to be out there, man. I really do. I mean, I know everybody's, you know, when it comes to money and budget but you know, I mean, they're happening. So obviously, you know, there's ways to go about doing it.
I think that's perfectly said. You know, it seems like this conversation comes up with everybody that I interview that's actually a filmmaker. We all say the same thing. They say the same thing, is it's easier now to become a filmmaker than it ever has been. That doesn't mean that you can skip learning how, you know, what shots are what shots, how to do shots, how to do lighting things. But it's just saying that if you can't afford this $1,000 light, this one light for $1,000 or this one light for 10 grand, there are lights right now that you can buy that are $50 a piece. They're $100 a piece. There are cameras now that shoot in 4K quality that are less than $3,000. When I decided that I was going to start making horror films in my 20s, 20 years ago, DSLR cameras were making a big impact. People were like, dude, these DSLR cameras, they shoot very cinematically. You know, I think at the time there was one for like less than $1,000, and I bought it and I was blown away by the quality. 1080 HD at the time, you know, that was like the standard, right?
Oh yeah.
And now they're even more sophisticated. They're not that expensive. So really, depending on how creative a person is, they could have the next Terrifier franchise.
Yeah.
There's not a lot holding people back except themselves. Now, you know, as an indie filmmaker, one thing I've been I don't want to say criticized. Some filmmakers I've been talking to, we stay on the line after I end these interviews.
Right.
And they've been kind of picking my brain a little bit about what I'm doing, which is really like, it's kind of shocking to me because I'm just like, hey man, thanks for your time. And like, so what do you got going on? I'm like, whoa, shit. Like I sat on, dude, no lie. I sat on here and talked to Philip, the producer of Terrifier, for an hour after our interview ended. And I was like, you know, I would have kept going. He's like, oh no, this is just for fun, man. I'm having a good time. I'm like, dude, there you go. That down to earth people.
Yeah.
But one thing he said, and other people have said to me, advice wise, is imagine if you gave up one of your roles, Jody, how much better your films would be. They're good, but imagine how much better they would be. And this is coming from some people that haven't even seen what I've done. They're like, but you know, you're writing it, directing it, filming it, editing, dude, the lighting, doing the special effects, makeup. Jesus, get off your ass and do something, right? You know, like what would happen if you hired somebody to do the special effects makeup? What happened if you did this? And they're right, but here's where the indie thing for me goes. I hate waiting on people.
Yeah.
And I know that the reason I'm able to get things out quicker at the speed I'm trying to do them, I want to do 1 to 2 movies a year, full productions, beautiful films, beautiful indie films.
Right.
Dude, the hardest thing I run into, I can do all those jobs, and just getting actors to show up on time and hoping that not one of them bitches is the biggest trouble I have seen. And I pay pretty good. I've had people tell me that I pay better than anybody they've worked for on their resume. And I'm like, that's crazy. Like, I didn't wonder if you take the gig. Like this girl, I said, I might only need you for 2 hours. But there's a possibility you could be here till midnight. It could be 6 hours. I said, it pays $200. It's cash at the end of the night. She said, are you kidding me? And she's like, somebody just put rats on me in this film, like a dozen rats. They covered me in them. And she said, I was on set all day long, maybe 12 hours, and I got $100.
Wow, man.
And this was a big production too. Like she was telling me, like, I don't want to name drop, but I'll just say there were a few legends in horror that were in this movie. And I'm like, wow, bro. Like, but even me paying well, I have a hard time getting people to commit. It's to the point to where now I'm having them sign on. As soon as they say, I'll do it, I need that in writing.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, for sure, man. And I was gonna say it's kind of a lot of it relates to combat sports, man, because even in the fight game, I mean, there's guys that have been fighting for years. They have like 10 plus fights, still making, on the regional, making 250, 500, compared to some promotions that are paying like 15 and 15 or more, depending on title, or if they, sell tickets, because that's the biggest thing now. It's like the more tickets you sell, you get a percentage off each ticket, so they make a little bit more. But yeah, I guess it's just a lot of it, and when it comes, you said there was a lot of big names, a lot of promotions. What they'll do is they'll say, oh, well, you know what, we're gonna have so and so there. He's gonna be the guest referee, and so they kind of throw that in as a perk, like, oh, okay, well, I'm gonna fight for less, but this guy's gonna may or may not raise my hand, and it's just. It just depends on the fighter, because honestly, at the end of the day, they're the ones that sign the contract. If you don't want to fight for less money, then don't. But a lot of them want to stay busy,
Right. I get that. I definitely do. And with a lot of these actors that I've talked to, a lot of them that said, man, I'm taking every acting job I can get. I don't care what it pays. I just want to be a working actor. I respect the hell out of that. And I'm guessing, so it sounds like, the fight game's like that too. Like, look, dude, I want to be in the ring. I need to get my name out there. It ain't going to happen if I'm not fighting. I'll take this. But, I think the main thing is, dude, is I have a hard time finding people that are hungry as I am. I've often been told I'm a different breed. You're the same way though. I can see, bro. You are on your game. You are trying constantly. You are working to make it happen. And that's what it, dude, that's what it just takes in order to make anything evolve. I mean, this is a hard thing to do. I'm newer to the podcasting thing. You've been doing this longer than I have now. You've actually interviewed some pretty big people. I mean, how hard was that to facilitate those things, to make that happen?
It wasn't a lot of it for the most part, man. I mean, I lose more than I bring on. I mean, there's a lot that like, oh, I can't make it, and then they postpone, and then after that, 90% of the times they don't come back. You know, so I do lose a lot, but a lot of it has to do with a schedule. You know, something comes up, they're filming, they're doing something. You know, it's the same thing, man. Like with the fight game, bro. Like I tell these fighters, and you know, I'm like, dude, the sooner the better, because it gets closer to fight time. You know, it's like you're cutting weight. You're like, hey, you know, you're hangry. You know, you're hungry and angry, and so it's just like a lot of them don't want to be on the podcast. They're like, dude, I don't feel good. I'm just, you know, I've been cutting carbs, and it's just insane. But it hasn't been hard. It's just been like you said, man, being consistent. You know, just throwing it out there. Out of 100 people, I might get 40. You know, and I'm okay with that. You know, and I do network a lot. Meeting a lot of these guests. I've befriended a lot of people, man, like at these conventions. I see them again, and they're like, hey, how you doing? You know, and they recognize me, and I'm like, all right, cool, man. Like, that's I can message them, and they actually message back, you know, and that's one of those things where I have like all these, I'm a self-contract delivery driver. I have customers that like, they trust me. They're like, hey, you know what? I won't be home, but can you drop this off? The back door's open. You know, and I'm like, bro, this is just people that I've met while doing deliveries. And for me, that says a lot, because it's like, bro, you can't really trust a lot of people out there. And I've developed that kinship with a lot of people when it comes to the horror community here in town. I mean, the vendors are freaking great. You know, they're out there hustling it every day. Yeah, the people that are setting it up, bro, it's got to be the biggest headache, you know, but I could tell them, I was like, okay, I'll let y'all deal with that, man. But I'll definitely go out there and cover it and promote it as much as possible, you know?
Yeah, dude, I've seen you putting the work in, man. So yeah, I'm super proud of you, bro. Because I mean, dude, that's what it takes. I've done it forever. I'll continue doing it. I've never, even at the like peak of my YouTube career, which really, honestly, like I've been doing it since 2018, but there was a 3-year ride where it was peak, and I was just blown away. Like it didn't seem like it was going to stop, and it's kind of slowed down, but it's also because of the kind of content that I'm doing now. I've been doing for so long, and there's new kind of contents that are popping up, and there's new platforms that are popping up. Like I remember when TikTok took off, I came from average videos getting like 50 to 60,000 views a video to like getting like 40 to 50. And now that's still great. But then there was other things that happened. And like anytime something new would pop up, it would take away from the plate. And, but my grind, my hustle has been the same as it was from day one. And I just turned 40 and I'm hungrier than ever, bro. We are getting ready to wrap Mallet 1. We have 2 more scenes to film, and I'm already talking about the next film. Like, hey, can we slide another movie in before January? Like, can we slide this horror comedy in that I wrote that could be filmed in 2 weeks if we film every day?
Yeah.
So that, I mean, I don't know if at some point, like, you know, something's going to happen, something's going to shift, but this has been me since 13 years old, which is
wow, man. You're seeing, and that's one of the things, because even now, like I've been networking, like I've been covering combat sports since 2004, I want to say.
Oh, okay.
I started training in 2000. I used to compete. I used to do jiu-jitsu. You know, when I stopped, one of my buddies just so happened to be on a media outlet, and he was like, hey, man, if you want to help me. And I'm like, sure, man. So I bought a camera. I had to learn how to, I've always taken photos, but I had bought my first Nikon, right? D7000. And I was like, man, this is like top game. You know, I'm out there. And it just so happened I was pretty good, man. I was taking great shots, and everybody's like, bro, like, and it was because I was training. I knew the transitions. I knew where they were going. So I would just follow them, you know, and everybody's like, bro, like, and it came from me just being a guy with a camera. I mean, I had stuff published in magazines, international magazines. I've had people use two of my photos on publications for books, you know, and it's just, and then everybody's like, man, how did you do that? And I'm like, bro, like, they ask and they're like, hey, can we use this? And I'm like, sure, man. Like, you know, I mean, banners, fight banners. I mean, fighters are like, bro, can I use this photo? And I'm like, yeah, I send them the high quality, you know. And when I first started, you know, there was people in the fight game that were doing it professionally. And I was kind of the new kid, you know, the new guy. I was older. I wasn't a kid. I mean, I was like, you know, late 20s. And so a lot of people were like, oh, man, like, you shouldn't be doing this for free. And I said, you know what, man? I said, what I do, I said, isn't professional, man. I said, I'm just a guy with the camera. You know, what you're doing is amazing. I said, man, you want to keep selling your photos by all means, you know, but they took offense to it, man. So I got blackballed, bro, like years into the game. And I took a break from it just because I wasn't allowed cage side at certain fights. And I'm like,
wow.
Yeah, like, I'm like, bro, I just requested a media pass case side. You say yes, and now you're telling me, and they're like, oh, well, yeah, well, we already got somebody. And I'm like, and I'm seeing like other people with cameras, and I'm like, okay, you know, I saw the writing on the walls, you know, and you know, but it's just it is what it is, man. A lot of those promotions aren't around, you know, the photographers aren't even around, and here I am, you know.
Right. That dude, you just said a lot there. Wow. Yeah, dude, I've been blackballed myself many times. And I tell you, nobody has ever been hungrier. And it sounds like you're at the same situation. So we always end up on top. We're still trying to eat when everybody else is, you know, they're full off some scraps, bro. Dude, that's you just brought here's what that just brought up. I remember, and guys, I still got a few more things I want to say about Terrifier, but I'll just say this, and I've mentioned this before too. In my early 20s, when I started making films, I started out making short films, pitch trailers, just, you know, anything I could do that was like shorter, easier, anything except a feature, because a feature was like, I better build up to that. There was some guys that I was working with. We all had our strength, you know, like I was great at doing the special effects makeup, writing and directing and acting. And one of the guys was great at filming and editing. The other guy was good at pulling stuff together, finding locations and you know, building stuff, making stuff, and just contributing, however. But they always wanted things to be done a certain way. It was almost always about money. Like, oh, if we're going to do this, we need to pay our actors this. We need to pay the location people this. We need to do these permits. We need to do this. And I said, where you see a problem, I have answers. I was like, how about if we ask these actors to do this for less? How about if we find a location, somebody would do us a solid and let us use this and sign off on it. We won't need permits if we do that, if we find private locations and they sign off on it, depending on what we're doing. We're not blowing up stuff. We're making simple horror films, right? And no matter what it was, they always wanted to go a technical route. And here we are, 15 years later. I'm making movies now, and they're still talking about making movies.
Yeah.
That is freaking crazy to me. So, and they're right around my age too. So it's kind of like, and the reason I know that is, I know some people that know them, and they kind of just was like, hey, yeah, they say they're trying to do this. I'm like, wait, I think they said that back in 2011. You know, that's, you can't wait for people. You just got to do. And if people close a door on you, open a new one, make a new one. And there's just too many ways today and nowadays that you can just be successful, right?
No, for sure, man. I was going to say one of the things that I've been saying a lot lately, and well, one of them from last year for myself, I was just like, you know what, if there's opportunities, I'm going to jump on them. I'm not going to say no, or I don't know, because I turned on a lot of work, man. I mean, this is just from being in movies in general. You know, people were like, oh, we need this, and I'm like, okay, I'll be there. And then last minute, I would just not go, or be like, oh, I don't want to do it. And I'm like, I kick myself, because I'm like, bro, like, I'm not saying I would have been somebody, but you know, I would have enjoyed it, and maybe, who knows, maybe I would have pursued it a little bit more. But one of the things that I tell myself lately is, instead of waiting around for opportunities, I'm just going to create them, bro.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
I love that.
Yeah.
Love that, bro. You need to put that on a t-shirt and sell it to the Coming Soon podcast families out there. Let me ask you this question. Going back to Terrifier real quick.
Yes.
Did you like part 1?
I did, for the most part, man, and goes back to not my harm.
Okay.
I'm more of a lead up to, like, my mind already wonders, and I'm already like, man, what could have happened? And in my head, like, person died 1,000 ways, right? So when it came to the movie itself, man, I did enjoy the plot, the storyline, the character. Of course, I was like, man, I wasn't keen. I was like, I didn't see it as big as a lot of people did, because it didn't hit me till like part 2 came around, and I said, oh, okay, yeah, like that was one of those characters that are like, you know what, like, he's gonna be around. He didn't just like one movie and in and out. But yeah, it's just, it was one of those movies that you kind of had to, it kind of grew on you, or for myself, it's just a lot of people were like, oh man, this is it. I didn't take that in right away. But yeah, it's just, I mean, I did enjoy it though.
So when part 2, whenever you seen part 2, it got you a little bit more. I think part 2 really got a lot of people. I think for me, so what I seen in part 2 was like the style of horror that I've been wanting to do since my 20s. I learned a lot of gory stuff, and I haven't even been able to touch a fraction of what I can do yet. I'm doing what I'm able to do and still hop behind the camera, say, guys, this is what you're doing. Make sure the lighting's on, touch up makeup. Okay, action. So I still have so much in my bag of tricks, but what I seen in part 2, I was like, whoa, okay. The fact that people are loving this lets me know, Jody, the way you want to do horror, you don't have to. I guess in my mind as an independent filmmaker, I said one thing people might not like about me, and I didn't show it in Mallet 1, is I don't know no limits when it comes to writing. Like, you might watch one of my films and it might make you pure sick. Mallet 1 was not that, but it easily could have been. The only reason it wasn't is because it was my first time doing a whole feature completely by myself. Mallet 2 is so brutal and up to the line. However, it's not even everything that's in the bag. It's just it's up there to that line without biting off too much, where it's like, hey, I got to hire 5 people to do this.
Right.
And there's something, dude, that gets me about having too many people on a set. I don't like it. I didn't never like being in parties with too many people. I didn't like going to work and working with too many people. I love simplistic. Even when I'm writing a scene, okay, let's make sure there's not too many people here. I need to be able to focus. But Terrifier for me, it let me know that, okay, people enjoy those limits. And I'd say that he really pushed the limit with 2, but I would say that they're saying they're topping that with 3. So, I mean, you can imagine. I mean, what do you imagine when you think about part 3?
Man, I'm imagining me turning away a lot. I mean, just from the scenes, because in part 1, man, there were scenes out there that I was like, man, like it got me. I mean, I ain't gonna lie, man. I was just like, wow, like I had to look away and be like, damn, that was too real, like it's just, I mean, everything about it, I always tell people, me growing up, I mean, I grew up here in San Antonio, and as a kid, man, we used to see, there's a bar down the street from where we grew up at, and there was always fights, man. And I've seen like some bad stuff, dude. Like people, like from being stabbed to, like holding their, I mean, just like brutal stuff, like real, and so I've seen a lot of horror, right, early on in life. But it was just like, when it comes to movies, it's just, for some reason, like, I've worked in the hospital field. I can put up with a lot, but that movie got me, man. I mean, out of all the things, I was just like, damn, part 1 did get me real good, man, to where I did have to turn away a few times and be like, man, I don't know, not to go back. And but yeah, it's just, it was one of those films, like I said, I mean, if it wouldn't have had what it did, I don't think it would have caught as much attention. I mean, the storyline was good, the character, the chemistry, everything was on, but it given it that much, it was just like, the little the gut punch where people were like, damn, like
I
you're
was
either
about
gonna
to
hate it
say,
or love it, man.
yeah, it hit you with a bit of an uppercut.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
bro.
not for the weak-hearted. However, that said, even if you like gore, if you like blood and gore, if you like hardcore horror, some people call it torture porn. I don't like that, but I get it. I don't think of it like that. Um, I like keeping people on the edge of their seat. I like shocking them. I like getting their heart racing. I so many people over the years have said, Jody, that's what your job is. You keep me on the edge of my seat. And I'm like, that's crazy, because as a filmmaker, that's my idea, how, what I'm trying to do. And as a content creator for, my social media platforms, that's what I do. But it sounds to me, by a few things you said, that you enjoy a horror film that's more suspenseful and builds up to a grand finale of
Oh yeah.
something. But do you enjoy like the blood and gore?
No, I do. I mean, there's films like, for me, like I said, like the suspense. Like if they're showing somebody with a hammer, walking up, they show the hammer going up, and the next scene is just blood. Like I already visualized it in my head, where I'm like, damn, like they got him. Like I don't have to see the impact, because it sells it. It's like boom, like the storyline. It takes me to the limits, man. I was gonna say earlier, like I used to work at a butcher shop here in my 20s, man, and everybody in San Antonio's worked there at one point or another, man. It's no longer there, but the stuff that I used to do, bro, was bad, and it's just like I've seen stuff, and I mean, when it comes to like cattle, of course, meat processing plant, but even doing that and removing internals from just like nothing, to me seeing that movie, man. That's what I'm saying. I was surprised when they got me the way it did, because I'm like, dude, here I am. I've seen stuff, and it's like that movie got me, man. Like it made me want to look away, have to look away.
If you can make Spider, who used to work at a butcher shop and have to chop up these things, if you can turn his stomach with the film, you're doing something right, man.
Oh yeah, bro.
Yeah, I think the craziest thing to me about this whole about the Terrifier fan base, and this goes with Hatchet fan base, this goes with so many out there, but I think Terrifier rapping right now, that's why this conversation's exciting. And dude, the same day that Terrifier 3 drops is the same day that Mallet 2
bro.
Yeah, of course, mine's not going to be in movie theaters. I don't anticipate me doing anything that has to do with Mallet moving forward being able to receive a rating, because I would never. If they said, hey, if you take this out or do this or do that, we'll give you a rating, I'd be like, no, fuck that. Like unrated. That's how I'm going to do all my shit.
Yeah.
But because that's the fan base that I'm writing for. That's the people I'm making these for. That's the kind of stuff I like to watch. I don't want to see something rated. I mean, I will, as long as I know they're not letting it change their vision. That creative control is still there, which is a rare thing. Dude, I have seen movies get ratings that I'm just like, how, bro? This is like the most brutal, sadistic thing I've ever seen in my life, next to something that, I mean, maybe a step below what I would do if I could in a film. And you get a rating. So I mean, I guess it's a possibility, but I don't know, man. It just doesn't seem realistic, especially when I watch. So, dude, I've watched Mallet 2 twice already, beginning to end, minus 2 scenes. And there's 2 scenes in there that I could just see people sitting there in a rating room looking at each other saying, fuck no, this is not being shown in any theater. So I don't know how they're getting Terrifier 3 on screens. That blows my mind.
No, I mean, and that kind of, because I think in the beginning the whole thing was that they were going to get a big fund, right? I mean, they have big money coming in, and it turned out that they pulled out, because I'm I would imagine those creative differences, like you said, because when somebody's throwing in that much money, they're gonna want some control. So it's like, okay, people butt heads and they're like, nah, you know what, I'm just gonna go this way. And but yeah, you know, the fact that they're getting ready, man, that's it's incredible, man.
Yeah, dude, when people are investing their money, they want to say, and I can respect that. I know as an investor myself, you know, I'm gonna want some creative control over my investment and no. However, when you're doing something that's, you know, a baby that you've created, um, this guy offered me $60,000 like a few months back, and he said, "Look, I'll give you 60,000 for this percentage." And I'm like, that kind of sounds fair. But I said, the thing is, you know, I'm not doing Mallet one again. I'm not stepping up Mallet one. This is like a night and day film. This is a whole same characters. Just imagine that the first one was PG and this one's going to be above an R. He was like, "Oh, no, no, no. We would have to do it." I said, "Nope. Conversation over. Done. Done." 60 grand. You know, sometimes money sounds good, and it is awesome to see people contributing, investing in your vision. But yeah, I'm a firm believer, dude. If you create something, you need to direct it.
Oh yeah.
You need
I
to
mean,
see
it is part of you, so it only makes sense, man. I mean, you should be able to lead the pack and push the story where it goes.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. But I'll just say this, excuse me. I think that Terrifier 3 is going to be a great film. I was a little shocked that they were going the Christmas slasher route. I will say that's maybe the only thing that I wasn't excited about at first, just because there's so much Christmas slasher type stuff out there. But when I started thinking about it, I'm like, well, wait. Damien's doing his thing on this. It's going to be different than any Christmas slasher thing we've seen out there. Because I will say this, man, on the special effects level, you know, the guy is next level. It's what I love most about him is he's doing stuff that I'm like, dude, that is so crazy. Like, that's something I've thought about doing. Now I can't do it because he's done it. But it's cool to see that, you know, there's somebody out there that is there's this one scene, bro. And I thought about doing this 9 years ago. I never shot the movie. It was called The Zombie Factory. I wrote it. There's supposed to be producers behind it and everything. There's this one scene where I would body double this guy, and we put hoses all throughout him. We put this big old pole in him, and somebody at the bottom would twist and turn this pole to make it look like his body was convulsing. He's a complete body double of this actor over here. And then somebody on top, they're doing these hoses at the same time, and blood's, you know, shooting from all these different, you know, wounds and orifices. And one day I'm watching a behind the scenes of Terrifier 2, and I see that, and I'm like, mother of God. I thought I had come up with something so cool and original of how to pull off to make it look real. Because see, when you come in with a tight lens on a shot like that, like, you can't tell that it's not a real person. And you just show it for a second. I mean, you don't show 30 seconds of it, you know, it's like, you know, 2.5 seconds of it happening. And they're like, holy shit, dude, that is crazy. Because that's one thing about horror films. You said something a little bit ago. You see in one shot, the guy's coming with the hammer. The next shot, he's bleeding out. I've done those. I will do those. I think there's a great way to sell some, but I love it when you can really make something feel more realer than that. Like, oh shit, like that looked legit. And I think that's something that I look forward to seeing in Terrifier films. There's a sense of realism.
No, for sure, man. And you see, and like when I say this, because you said you just turned 40 this year, right?
Yeah, February 3rd.
See, I turned 50 this year, bro.
So, oh man, well, happy late birthday to you.
I know, man. It's come July, bro. I'm gonna turn the big 50. And one of the things that it's kind of like my bucket list was like, I mean, me doing a few things, and I mean, being in films was one of them. I'm doing a couple other things that I'm like pushing towards right now, but I know I'm gonna get them done before the end of the year, man. It's just, for me, I was just like, man, I got to do this now, you know, like somebody was like, oh, you could have done this when you were 30, when you were 40. And I said, you know what? I mean, me looking back, I'm like, I wish I could have. But I mean, with the kids, my divorce, there was so much going on that there's no way, I wouldn't have been able to do it to my full potential because I was stressed. And, so now that I'm older and I'm like, okay, I'm somewhat in my retirement job and I'm just chilling, things are paid, kids are grown. I said, now is my time. Now I can do it. Now I can jump on this and do projects and do what I want to do, which is just be able to express myself through film, through podcast, through whatever it is out there, man. I want to be an artist in one way or another, And so now that's why I'm like, man, I'm gonna do it, man. I mean, this is my year, brother. So I'll be my birthday gift to myself.
Love that, bro, and I can't wait to see what you do. And I mean, obviously, the answer is yes to this, but it is one thing you really want to do is be in more films.
For like right now, my goal this year, yes, I want to be able to I'm doing somewhat like short films right now. Like I'm actually, and most of it is just I want to practice. I want to be able to see what I can express, see if I can do different characters, and just kind of practice that, I guess, if you can say. But at the same time, I want to have fun with it, But being in films this year, yes, definitely, man. I mean, I want to be able to. I'm in a casting pool right now, so I've been invited to like a few God, what's that like series, as far as I just went blank, but on for feet, on stream, man. I mean, there's episodes that are streaming right now that they're looking for extras. They're looking for people that can be a zombie. Actually, audition to one last week, so I'm gonna see, at the end of the month, see if they call me out there. But I want to do it all, man. I mean, I want to be able to go out there. I mean, of course, horror is my forte, man. I'd rather stick with that. But I mean, there's opportunities with something else. I'm definitely jump on it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Build up a bit of a resume, see what you can do, man. And yeah, dude, listen, I know people that are 50 years old that talk and act like they're 90. I know people that are 40 years old that talk and act like they're 90. I have friends that act like it's over. And I'm like, bro,
yeah,
it's all up here.
Yeah.
Even my doctor told me a few weeks ago, you're middle-aged now. You need to slow down. Yeah. Okay. You keep thinking that, lady. I don't slow down. And I'm looking at her and I'm like, she's 60 years old. And she's living like she's 60 years old. You don't have to do that. Listen, I got a crack in my spine. I have Lyme disease. I live in freaking pain, bro. I live in pain. Every single day I wake up, I feel like I've been in a very, very bad bar fight. And I get my ass up and I make the most out of it and squeeze out of every day. So it's all up here. We only get to do this once. If you have any dreams, if you have any goals, you got to get your ass up. You got to do it. And I love the fact that you said, man, this is the year, bro. Yeah, don't let any more time pass you by. If there's something you've ever wanted to do it. Even if you got to do it on your own, bro. Who knows? You might be making your own freaking movie before the end of this year.
Who knows, brother? Who knows, man? I mean, like I said, I mean, a lot of what I'm doing now is just ideas. I'm doing a lot of mashups. Like I'm getting like 2 film ideas and just kind of boom, throwing them in one, just to be able to be creative, but get the juices flowing. But I used to write a lot, man. I grew up in that era right before internet kind of blew up. We used to write letters, right? I mean, this is like back in the Stone Age, right? But I used to do a lot of fan mail. So I used to do, I had an underground zine where I used to interview punk bands from Germany, from Switzerland, from Spain. And I'd have to wait three weeks to like a month to get a response, bro. I get it. I type it up on my typewriter, go to Kinko's, cut and paste. And that's how my zines were going. I got 5 issues in, but my zine got like, because I was networking with these companies back then, these record labels. They were like, oh, well, send me like 20 zines. We'll buy them and we'll sell them for you. And man, I mean, my zines were selling in Germany, in Spain, in England. Like, I go to shows and people, they'd have my zine. And I'm like, where did you get that? I'll be like, hey, man, that's mine. And they're like, "What? Nah, dude, I bought it, you know." And I said, "No, bro." I said, I did that. I said, "Look at the back," and it would have a little PO box with San Antonio in it. And back then, I used to go under Nutty, right? That was my nickname. But and they're like, "Dude, what the hell? Like, I ordered this from freaking Germany, bro. Like, I could have just gotten it here the whole time, you know." And so it was mind blowing. And that's kind of where this whole podcast thing comes into play, man. Like, I like the fact that I'm involved and able to communicate with different people and just, you know, see how life is going on the other side of the world, man.
Yeah, no, I love that too, man. The only thing I hate is that I know we all do this, man, is that I went away from it for too long. I remember as doing the Hunting the Dead channel. I've always done it, you know, religiously from the time I started, but I remember I started the Scream scene and I did a few movie reviews and I was so happy. Like, they didn't really make hardly any money to speak of. It didn't matter to me. I didn't care. Like, even a few of my friends was like, "Dude, this channel is like making a lot of money. Why are you worried putting the energy into this instead of making extra videos over here?" I'm like, because I love this, but I'm in love with this. I have been since I was a kid, and I'm sick of pushing things I'm in love with to the side because this is the money train. And don't get me wrong, like, I have a group of people, a family of people I've met on the internet over here that I love, that support what I do. I love them dearly, but I'm not pushing this shit to the side no more, especially when it comes to these movies, bro. Like, I've already told my fan base, like, movies are right here, YouTube's right here. Sorry, you know, I love you guys, but like, this is in-game shit, and I don't know that they're all gonna do good. But I just know that everything I make, I want to put my heart into it, and I want to stay consistent with it, whether it makes a lot of money or just texting you. We lost each other for a second there, guys. I'll just say this: I don't know if it's gonna happen again. So, Spider, thank you for joining me on this podcast. I appreciate it, man. Tell people where they can find you at, brother.
No, yeah, for everybody out there, of course, man, and I appreciate you bringing me on. But Coming Soon podcast. I mean, I am based out of Texas, San Antonio. Coming Soon podcast on all platforms, so definitely look it up and follow up.